Welcome to level 3. We are going to work on dividing decimals. This set of notes is just going to focus on dividing decimals by whole numbers. Make sure you have your notes ready and let's get started. So the steps, number 1, we set up a long division problem. We divide and then we place the decimal in the quotient directly above the decimal in the dividend. Really simple, so let's go ahead and get started as soon as I can get this moving. All right, our first problem we have right here, 18 and 45 hundredths divided by 5. So we're going to set this up. Remember, this is our divisor, 5 is our divisor, 18 and 45 hundredths is our dividend. So let's go ahead and write this as a long division problem. We can write it as we say it, 18 and 45 hundredths divided by 5. So first, this is the only way we need to do it right now. When we're dividing by a whole number, we just go ahead and divide. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and bring that decimal up. So I like to go ahead and put that decimal, I bring it straight up and I put that decimal right there. And then I like to divide. That way I don't forget to do it. So I know 5 cannot go into 1, but 5 can go into 18, and it can go 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15, and we subtract. It leaves us with 3, and then we bring down our 4, just like always. We don't worry about the decimal. The decimal is already up in the answer, no problem. 5 goes into 34 6 times, so we just put it here above the 4, multiply through, and we get 4, and we bring down the next digit, 5. 5 goes into 45 9 times. 9 times 5 is 45. We subtract, and we get 0. So our answer is 3 and, because remember that's what we say when we see the decimal place, 3 and 69 hundredths. There's our answer. So let's move on to do a few practice. Number 1, 8 and 73 hundredths divided by 9. So let's write that out. 8 and 73 hundredths divided by 9. You can either bring the decimal point up now or you can wait. I like to go ahead and bring it up. And then let's divide. 9 can go into 8? No, it cannot. So I'm going to put a 0 here because it's right before that decimal. 9 goes into 87 how many times? It can go in there 9 times. 9 times 9 is 81. Subtract. And we're left with 6. And then we just bring down the 3 like when we're dividing with regular whole numbers. 9 can go into 63 7 times. 9 times 7 is 63. Subtract and we're left with 0. So our answer is 97 hundredths. And with this, you do not have to say 0 and 97 hundredths. If you just say 97 hundredths, we know that the whole number is 0. Let's move on to number 2. I'm going to write it out as I read it. 8 and 58 hundredths divided by 12. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my decimal right here. And now I'm going to go ahead and start dividing. 12 cannot go into 8, so I know I need to put a 0 here. 12 goes into 85 how many times? It goes 7 times. 7 times 12 is actually 84. Subtract and bring down the 1 and bring the 8 down. Now we just look, how many times can 12 go into 18? It only goes 1 time. We multiply it through, and here is where we have an issue. We're left with 6, but since we're doing a decimal, we do not want a remainder left. We can use remainders when we're focusing on fractions or we can use remainders when we're focusing on just whole numbers. But now that we're learning how to use decimals when dividing, we need to know how to continue dividing so we can finish out our decimal. Now, we have a leftover, or what you would have called before a remainder. But instead of this, I'm going to add a 0 here. We can do this because it's after the decimal. So now I can pull that 0 down. How many times can 12 go into 60? 12 can go into 65 times. So I just move that 5 right here like I would normally. 5 times 12 is 60. I subtract and I'm left with 0. So my answer is 715 thousandths. That is the easy way to go ahead and finish out your decimal, is by adding in the 0. I want you to look at number 3 and number 4 and complete those on your own. So we have 45 and 73 hundredths divided by 2. 2 can go into 4 2 times. I multiply it through 0 and I bring down the 1. Now, I remember that I did not bring my decimal up, so I need to make sure I do that. Oops, I brought down a 1. That's not right. Should have been a 5. Okay, how many times can 2 go into 5? 2 times. I subtract by 4 and I get 1 and I bring down the 7. 2 can go into 17 8 times. Gives me 16. I subtract and I'm bring down my 3. 2 can go into 13 6 times. With 12, I subtract and I'm left with 1. Now here we have the remainder. Remember, we do not want a remainder. We want to continue solving the problem out. So I'm going to add a 0 and bring it straight down. How many times can 2 go into 10? 5 times. Subtract by 10 and I'm left with 0. So my answer is 22 and 865 thousandths. Last problem. We have 8 and 652 thousandths divided by 8. Going to go ahead and bring up my decimal right here. 8 can go into 8 one time. I can go ahead and subtract that through and bring down my 6. 8 cannot go into 6, so I have to put a 0 there. Okay, I can't just go ahead and skip it. Now I can go ahead and bring down my 5. 8 goes into 65. Okay, so how many times would 8 go into 65? Okay, 8 goes into 65 8 times. Get 64 and we subtract 1. And we bring down our 2. 8 goes into 12 only one time. And we're left with 4. Remember, what do we need to do? Add a 0. Bring the 0 down. How many times can 8 go into 40? 5 times. We subtract. And so our answer should be 1 and 815 10 thousandths. And here's our answer.